Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to this virtual presentation for the Spring Research Conference this year in 2021. My name is Kayleigh Fiser, and I will be presenting exposure to tobacco smoke and family resilience among a national sample of school-aged children. I am a PhD student in my second year in the Health Promotion and Education program at the University of Cincinnati. And I would like to thank the co-author, Dr. Melinda Mojave-Gittens, and my mentors, Dr. Neighbors and Dr. Marianos, for the help with this research and ongoing support in the doctoral program. So to go over the background information, I just wanted to start by saying that there have been declines in adult tobacco smoking, as well as an increase in awareness of associated health risks and smoke-free laws. So for example, no smoking in public places or in hotels. Despite this, though, there is still 38.1% of school-aged children who remain exposed to tobacco smoke exposure. And a big part of this and a big important source are in homes. So for starters, I wanted to go over the different kinds of exposure. So there's secondhand and third-hand smoke. So it was previously assumed that children are only exposed to tobacco smoke if they are around secondhand smoke. So that is parents actively smoking around them, or when we are in a car with somebody smoking around us. However, what we know about third-hand smoke is that it remains in the home long after cigarettes are extinguished. And so while we know that secondhand smoke exposure is associated with many consequences like neurodevelopmental and mental health disorders, a lot of emerging evidence is suggesting that third-hand smoke is associated with the same and likely worse health effects. So if you're wondering why that is, this is because secondhand exposure happens through inhalation during and shortly after, but third-hand smoke exposure can occur through inhalation, ingestion, and absorption. So for example, it could remain on the surface and dust in your homes. And a good way that I learned what it was is like if a baby is crawling on the floor and they're absorbing it through their skin because it was on the floor and the dust particles. So it can be absorbed into your skin, into your clothes. So someone may think that if they go outside and they smoke, that everyone would be okay, but it could still be absorbed into the baby. So a little background on family resilience. So I'm a pretty visual learner, and one way I like to think of it is understanding how families function during adverse circumstances. So thinking of a chart format, I will try to explain it to you. So if you look at family resilience at the top of that, and then you think of some parts underneath it. So I think of family belief systems, organizational patterns, and communication and problem solving. So in terms of belief systems, what is the outlook that the family has? And how do they make meaning out of adversity? And under organizational patterns, what are they connected to? What does their support look like and their resources look like? And then in terms of communication and problem solving, what does their problem skills look like? How are they using their communication together? So family resilience is the family's capacity to face and adapt to environmental stressors. So limited research has assessed the cross-section between child tobacco smoke exposure and family resilience, which is why we decided to look at this. So the purpose of our present study was to assess the associations between tobacco smoke exposure and family resilience scores among United States school-age children. We did this by doing a secondary analysis of the 2017 and 2018 National Survey of Children's Health combined data. So in total, there was 15,423 children that took part in this data. So this was collected, the survey is randomly selected households. They were connected by mail to identify those with 0 to 17-year-olds using a brief screener questionnaire completed by the adult residents by the internet or by paper, so it's self-reported. And a small incentive of $2 to $5 was mailed with the invitation. We used descriptive statistics, a chi-square and ANOVA tests, and multinomial regression analysis. And so in terms of our results, the average child age was 8.5 years old, 51% male, 49% female. And in terms of ethnicity and race, we have 50.7% non-Hispanic white, 25.9% Hispanic, 13% non-Hispanic Black, and 10.4% non-Hispanic or other race slash multiracial. That's a tongue twister, sorry. So I'm going to go over the significance in the next slides, but just to see on this the chart of child and family characteristics based on child tobacco smoke exposure status, there are no differences in age and sex, but there is a difference in race and ethnicity, health status, and adverse childhood experience scores. So there's also a difference in education level, family structure, federal poverty level. Um, and since there can be confusion with the two of these that we measured, because we measured living with a smoker with home exposure and living with a smoker with no home tobacco smoke exposure, what we found is similar findings, but what's different is that non-Hispanic Black children had higher percentages of living with a smoker who smoked in the home versus not smoking in the home. So for both of these, there was 12.8% who lived with a smoker with no home tobacco smoke exposure and 1.6% who did live with a home tobacco smoke exposure. Um, Both non-Hispanic white having poor, fair, good, or health status, and then 2.3 to 4.9 adverse childhood experiences. So again, the only difference is that there's a higher level of non-Hispanic Black children who are living with a smoker with home tobacco smoke exposure. So I'm going to go over the family resilience scores. So 6.3% of children had a low family resilience score, 0.5% had a moderate family score, 83.2 had a high family resilience score. So the results for this showed that children who lived with a smoker with no home tobacco smoke exposure were 1.82 times more likely to have a low family resilience score. And then compared to children with high family resilience score, children who lived with a smoker with home tobacco smoke exposure were at significant increased odds to have low family resilience and moderate family resilience scores. So looking at low family resilience with someone who did not smoke in the home, family resilience is still a problem. So whether or not you smoke in the home or you do not smoke in the home, there is still a chance of lower moderate family resilience. I'll just let you look at these briefly. So in terms of the discussion, our findings are consistent with previous research, which shows that children who reside with a smoker, regardless of smoking inside the home, face risks in terms of having low family resilience. Our results provide new information, which indicate that children living with a household smoker, and especially allowing the smoke inside their home, was a major factor for lower levels of parent-reported family resilience. Smoking in the home is a risk factor for family functioning. Non-Hispanic white and Black children and Hispanic children had high prevalence of living with a smoker with no home tobacco smoke exposure. Non-Hispanic white and Black children also had high reports of home tobacco smoke exposure, and home tobacco smoke exposure is more common in single-parent households. So our recommendations. So findings lend support for the need to educate families with smokers who allow smoking inside their homes about implementing smoking bans and supporting families who smoke to quit through education and potential resources. So opening up that conversation, which allow an open-ended talk about what resources the family has access to and who you can connect them with. When discussing family resilience, healthcare professionals, pediatricians, they may have opportunities to refer families for support. And working on resilience provides a context for discussion about more things that the family might need help with in overall family functioning. Healthcare professionals could provide coaching about ways to improve family resilience. So that could look like spending more time together and focusing on child and family health. Future research is needed to explore specific interventions that could be used to teach parents how to implement voluntary smoking bans and what will motivate their parents to apply these interventions in their home. If there are any questions, my email is below, fiserka@mail.uc.edu, and I will also be available for the 10-minute questions. And I just want to share that in my master's, I received a master's in social work, so I have an independent license in Ohio, and this research has been helpful for me because it opens up conversations that I now know more research on in terms of smoking cessation and family resilience. Here are my references, and thank you again so much for coming to my presentation.